This is the agenda for tonight's session on scripts and survey questions within Votebuilder. Just a real quick Votebuilder overview. So we're all starting from the same page here. How to create a script, some best practices for scripts and types of scripts you want to have. Talk a little bit about survey questions, and along the way, we will share resources for you. The overview. If you have attended my trainings before, you have seen this slide more than once. Vote Builder is a very powerful tool, and you're not going to be a master of it in an hour. I've been using it for like 6 years or something, and I'm still learning things all the time. So let that pressure go. It takes a little bit of patience to get highly skilled at Vote Builder, some practice and experimentation. I have found that the more I use Vote Builder, the more regularly, some of the tasks that I do every couple of days, those get easier and faster. There's also more than one way to do things. So um, I'm going to show you the path I take to get certain activities done in Vote Builder. You might navigate to it a little differently. If you get the end result you want, it's all good. And you pretty much can't break Vote Builder. So a lot of what I've learned how to do was through trial and error and just experimenting in Vote Builder. So don't be nervous about trying some things, but also don't bang your head against the desk for too awful long. So if you're trying something and you can't figure it out, you can reach out to me, you can reach out to Harmon, and we will help you. If you are comfortable multi-screening, you could log in now. Or for people who are watching this video later, when you get the slides in tomorrow's follow-up email, if you want to log into Vote Builder and follow along on the training, now would be the time. I encourage you to bookmark Vote Builder. So once you've gotten access and you've logged in, votebuilder.com is the web address that you would bookmark. The concepts we're talking about, the skills, scripts, and survey questions, this is relevant for both the My Voters and My Campaigns portions of Vote Builder. As a reminder, My Voters is where the voter roll is. This one's a little bit more intuitively named. So when it comes to who is registered to vote in North Carolina, they are going to be in My Voters. Democrats, Republicans, unaffiliated, all of them. My campaign is where you will keep track of your volunteer information. If you are a county party, hopefully you've got information in my campaign because your account has existed for hopefully several years. If you are a candidate, and you are just starting to use Vote Builder, my campaign will be empty until you start to populate it. And if you're interested in learning more about that, there is another training session on Vote Builder managing your volunteer data. That would be a good one for that. And as a reminder, this is a slide we've seen before too. These are the steps you use to build your contact list. This example is for phone banks, but if you need that reminder, here is this information, or you can watch the previous recordings for how to set up a Canvas and how to set up a phone bank. Okay. Um, I don't see any questions in the chat, so I'm going to keep moving and talk about the basics of creating a script. Backing up for a minute, talking about why this matters. Why do we use scripts? If you have attended my Canvas training that I have for volunteers who are canvassing for the first time or need a refresher, um, script, I always tell first-time canvassers, is a little bit of a bigger word than what we're really talking about. It's not pages and pages of dialogue you're memorizing because you're going to be in a performance. It's a couple sentences at a time to help drive your conversations with voters or with volunteers, whoever you're talking to. So we use scripts to give volunteers a starting point, to give them the sentences that they can use to initiate a conversation with a voter. We also use scripts because we want specific information. We're trying to collect specific answers, and we use scripts so that the canvasser, the phone banker, whoever is using the script can record very specific answers. I will show examples of that. When do we use scripts? And if you want to type in the chat, what are occasions when you might make a script for Vote Builder? Any ideas? Door knocking. Yes, thank you, Diane. Recruiting volunteers, phone banking. Yeah. GOTV. Yes. I don't have that one on my list. Curing ballots. Yes. Okay, here are some times, occasions where it's common to use a script. So when you're talking to voters, when you're communicating with voters, canvassing, phone banking, text banking, you're likely to have a script. Ooh, looking for candidates. That's a good one, Diane. I don't have that one on my list. And then when you're reaching out to volunteers, what I am usually doing is making confirmation calls. You might also be making recruitment calls to volunteers. It's less likely that you will be making recruitment canvases for volunteers, but I know some counties have communities that are dense enough that they do that. I live in Wake County, and Wake County definitely does that. In the previous Vote Builder sessions on setting up a canvas, building a phone bank, these slides were included in those trainings because for each of those, there is a point when you're setting those up where you select your script. So I want to show you how to build a script or edit an existing script. And this is a screenshot from my campaign. I know it's a little bit small, but I've got the red arrow here pointing to the administrative menu, and I have to zoom in even to look at it. It says codes, questions, scripts on that line. When you click on that, it will expand the menu a little bit, and then you would click on scripts. That will bring you to a page in your Vote Builder that lists the scripts that you currently have access to. Again, if you're a county party, you almost certainly have scripts in there. If anyone here is a candidate, and I didn't see in the introductions if anybody is a candidate, but you may not have scripts yet in my campaign. We will give you scripts that you can use in my voter. More to come on that in just the next couple of days as we get past last week's filing deadline. So this is a screenshot from the My Campaign that I use. You can see towards the bottom, I have a script there, 2024 training confirmations. That was the script I used a bunch last year. Walking through the steps to add a new script. We've got this blue button in the upper right-hand corner, and it brings up this screen where you enter some information. So item number one, give your script a name. In the other Vote Builder trainings, I've talked about the importance of having a naming convention. This is another place where you might want to have a naming convention, a standard protocol for how you name your work in Vote Builder. I usually do year audience purpose or year geography purpose. This is 2024 volunteer recruitment. That was the name I gave this. Number two, the line right below that is where you can put a description. You can use some additional characters here to explain what you are doing. This can be helpful if it's a complicated script or list that has a lot of information and you use abbreviation or acronyms in the name. You can define it more here in this description box. You can see the status and this when you're making a new script, make a script that's active. But if you're looking at scripts that exist, you can see if they've previously been archived or if they're inactive. Item number three, select which database you will use this script in. So it's either My Voters or my campaigns. So, depending on who you're trying to talk to, if you're building a script because you're going to be talking to voters, you would indicate the database is my voter file. If you're building a script to make recruitment calls to volunteers, you would put that in my campaign. Item number 4 here in the bottom right-hand corner is the blue button that says Next. So when you click on that, it'll bring up this screen so that you can add script details. You can see on the left-hand side, it brought over the name, the description that I used before. On the bottom of that screenshot on the left, it says created by Christy Boer, North Carolina Democratic Party, April 22nd, 2024. So you can see who made it and when. On the right-hand side, you'll have a decision to make here on if you want to build a script that is linear or that is branched. Linear scripts are going to go item by item by item by item. Um, if you are, for example, making confirmation calls for an event that's coming up, or even volunteer recruitment calls, that might be a simple enough conversation. I'm probably going to make a linear script for that. They tend to be faster and easier to create. I find them a little simpler. The trade-off is they aren't as sophisticated, they aren't as robust. A branched script, this you will use so that you ask your first question, and depending on how someone answers it, you can go down two different paths. So it is more sophisticated. It's going to take a bit more time up front to build it. It can better match the conversations, particularly that you're likely to have with voters. So if a voter says, you ask, the survey question is, what is the top issue that is going to determine who you vote for in 2025? And if someone says it's the economy, the script might go in one direction and say, here's the candidate's position on the economy. And if they say their top issue is education, you would say, here's the candidate's top position on education, and your conversations could go in different directions. If you decide it is like a choose your own adventure, you know what? That's a much better way to explain it than my convoluted way. It is a choose your own adventure story. What's important if you are deciding to build branch scripts is you really need to think through your logic and make sure every branch of this tree, every part of the choose your own adventure story has the right components and gets to the end point. So it's really important to test out your branch scripts. You might have seen this if you were canvassing or phone banking for the presidential campaign last year. They were probably using some branch scripts, especially as we got into the fall. Harmon, is there anything you want to add or course correct me on in terms of linear versus branched scripts?
No, I think at most I would just add that if you're learning to walk with scripts, I would start with linear and just really want to emphasize that. You don't have to be fancy and do a branch script, especially if it's just you calling or someone who's deeply familiar with the script. Branching is really meant to help volunteers knocking doors or making calls who might not be familiar with like a very long script, and also if you have a very long script. But if you don't have those, there's not as much of a need for a branch script. And if you're just starting out, which I assume a lot of y'all are, linear is usually just a safer bet to just get started. And so I would make whatever you do, I would recommend making your first script as a linear script and just wanting to echo that.
Yeah, I think that's right. I very rarely make branch scripts. I'm almost always making linear ones myself. But to Harmon's other point, like I know if I'm the one doing, like when I've been talking a lot about when I ran for office, I built a branched script for that because I wanted to learn the skill but most of the time I'm using linear. Okay, so whichever kind of script type you're doing, these are the basic elements of your script. You need to have an introduction to start the conversation, survey questions, We will talk about this more, but at a minimum, you need to have one survey question for the script to work. And this is a question you ask the person you're talking to and you record their answer. And then you've got your close, you've got your wrap up. So what you can see here on the left, this is the screenshot of adding script elements. The first script element to add is your introduction. And you will add each of these elements one at a time. So in this text box, I'm adding, hi, is this bracket for name? Hi, bracket. My name is bracket for volunteer. I'm a volunteer with the Wake County Democratic Party, and I'm here to talk about the election, something like that. When I have the text in there that I want to use, I will click the add button to add that component. That box, by the way, is not very big. I frequently write my script components in a separate window, get them the way I like them, and then copy and paste them into this part of the tool. This is the preview. So I added my element, I added the introduction, and now you can see here is the text. Hi, is this name? Hi, name. My name is name. I'm a volunteer. This has a number one to the left because this is the first script element we have added. So that's the order in which it is appearing. First script element. Now we need to add at least one survey question. So I've got a number two here by survey question in the tool, and it is a drop-down menu. Drop-down menu. Select the survey question that you are going to use in this script. You might have multiple survey questions, but you have to add them one at a time. Select the one you want to use, hit add. In this screenshot on the left, you can see I added from last year the 2024 issues question. So, what's an issue? What issue are you thinking about when you're deciding who to vote for in 2024? That was the question. And you can see now on the right-hand side that has shown up in my script preview. It's got a number two next to it in that purple box, and you can see what that script looks like. You can add several questions, I suppose. You have to have one as a minimum. I would say a best practice, like I generally don't want to have more than, let's say, three really substantive questions, like what's your top issue? Are you likely to vote in the next election? Who do you support? And then I might also have another two to four questions that are things like, are you interested in volunteering? What kind of volunteer activities do you want to get involved in? I'm making a volunteer ask. I put that in all of my scripts. Um, so I generally don't want to have a whole bunch, like a dozen questions I'm trying to ask. If you have knocked doors yourself, it's not, I don't think, realistic to expect volunteers to ask strangers 12 questions. It's just kind of like not how human conversations go. And there are trade-offs. I mean, we want to know everything about everybody, but it's not realistic. So I usually have like three to four meaty questions. Harmon, do you have any thoughts on that?
The only addition I would add is know an important thing to do, and just again to emphasize, what is the list you're talking to should inform you on what the script should be. If you're doing persuasion, um, having it be very persuasion focused is important. If you're trying to do GOTV, making sure that it is meant for a GOTV script. The GOTV script is meant for a GOTV list. So making sure that the right things are in there. And so all scripts should start on lists and what the goal of that list is to do when you go canvas it. And that's a really good way to ground what you should have in it and then maybe what you shouldn't have in it. You don't need to have it be heavy persuasion if it's a GOTV list, a get out the vote list, because those people should already be convinced to vote for you. It's more about convincing them to turn out.
Agreed. Thank you. Okay, so we added our introduction. We added a survey question. Now, if you want, and what I'm doing here in this, oh, the difference between GOTV and persuasion. Persuasion is you're saying like, who are you going to support? And I think you should support Harmon because he's a great candidate and he shares our values. GOTV is I know you support Harmon and the polls are open, so go cast your ballot. That's roughly the difference there. Um, okay, sorry. So what I'm adding here in element number three is some more text, some more script to help the volunteer. What I've added here is the previous question was, what issue is most important to you? That's my shorthand. So what I have here is text saying, thank you for sharing that. We need to have these types of conversations with millions of voters before November. And then I'm going to go into a volunteer ask. I wouldn't actually build a script that went straight from there to a volunteer ask, but in the interest of this training and showing you how to get through a script, to Harmon's point, think about who you are talking to and what you're trying to accomplish. I am always going to include a volunteer ask when I am talking to voters. But I would usually probably have a little bit more of an opportunity for conversation here. So I'm adding some more text. I hit the add button. Number four, I'm adding another survey question, and this one is the volunteer ask question. Again, I hit the add button, and then in the script preview, it's bringing up those survey questions. The script preview, by the way, is going to get long on your Vote Builder screen. So I don't have better screenshots here because you're going to have to scroll to see it all. Had an introduction, had a couple of questions. Now I need my close. So again, I'm typing here in the text box. Thank you for taking the time to talk with me today. Hit the add button. That's the basics of building a script. So now I have my script built, and you can see this is what the screen looks like once I've built the script, ready to go. I've named it, I can start using it. If I want to make changes to that script, there are a couple things I can do here. So in the screenshot on the left, in the upper right-hand corner, I've drawn a red box and it says delete or edit. So I can hit that. I mean, if I hate the script, I could just delete it. But if I want to just tweak it, I'm going to hit edit. And then I can edit each component separately. And the other option I can do is right over here on the left, the far left, this red box. It's called a hamburger menu. It's like three lines. You can use that to drag the script components and change the order in which those components appear. Maybe you decide you need some text before you jump into a question, or you don't need that text. You just want to go straight to the question. You can rearrange that order. On the far right-hand side, towards the bottom, um, let's see here. I'm having a hard time zooming in. Um, Here we go. On the far right, on the bottom, I've got this red box. That's where you would click to save the order. So you do need to hit that save order button if you rearrange. And you can delete the entire script or you can delete individual components. One thing I do a lot, because I love a shortcut, is I don't make a lot of scripts from scratch. I'm pretty much always going back to a script I've used before and duplicating it and editing it. That's what I do a lot. So in this screenshot, you can see I pulled up my training confirmation script. I'm hitting the Save As button, giving it a new name. Now it's not a training confirmation, it's a Canvas confirmation, or it's community meeting confirmation call, something like that. Hit the save button. So I don't make a lot of scripts from scratch. I'm usually going into one that I've used in the past, doing a save as, and then editing it. It's really important to do that save as so that you can duplicate that script and not overwrite the previous one. But otherwise, then you would pull this up. You could add components, remove components, change the order, change the text. Okay. That was creating a script. I'm going to pause here and see what questions there are. I think I will get through my slides by 7 o'clock, and I may have time to do a demonstration of that real quickly. What questions do you have? Okay, I'll keep moving. Script writing best practices. These are some of the basic scripts that you probably want to have. If you've got these scripts, again, you can just be duplicating and editing them. A script for confirmation calls, a script for volunteer recruitment, and voter ID, an identification script. This is where you're going to say, there is an election for mayor this November. Which candidate do you support? Persuasion script is going to probably get a little bit more into talking about values and policy positions. And then the turnout or GOTV script is to get people to the polls, let them know where their polling location is, things like that. So these are the five basic scripts to have. For any script, and this is what Harmon was alluding to a moment ago, here are some key questions to ask. Who are you targeting? What is your goal? What are you trying to accomplish? And who's going to be using the script? So if you're targeting people who have high Democratic support scores but have never volunteered before, you're going to pull a different kind of list and you're going to write a different type of script using different survey questions for an audience, as opposed to if you are targeting, say, people with who are registered as Democrats and they didn't vote in the 2021 municipal elections, and you're trying to get them to vote in 2025's elections. That's a different list, different script with different survey questions. So I should probably reorder these slides because you really need to be thinking about that targeting and the goal before you build the script. The last question here is who is going to be using the script? If I'm making a script that I'm using myself for a quick confirmation call phone bank, I don't need to maybe be super prescriptive because I've done this before. If you are making a script that volunteers are going to use to go canvas and you've got a dozen people showing up, you might approach building that script a little differently. You want to make sure that it's going to make sense to the person who's going to be using it. So those are a couple things to think about. Also, this has come up a couple times. Complicated is possible. It's not necessarily better. Those branch scripts can get very sophisticated, very complicated. A linear script is a bit simpler, and it is probably, you probably want to get some experience building and using linear scripts before you attempt branched script. You don't need to recreate the wheel. Find a similar script and do a save as and edit it. Use templates in bracketing. So you don't need to put, so you're going to put hi voter name and I'm volunteer name. Just put that in brackets and then you'll train people to say the voter's name, to say their actual name. We also frequently use bracketing to say, like, do you plan on voting for candidate in November? Instead of saying um, Harmon Droge, Christy Boer. So you might see that as well, in which case maybe you put a block of text to say the candidate's name is Harmon Droge, something like that. But use templates, use bracketing, copy and paste. Share best practices. If there's something that's working really well for you, let your colleagues in the county know to keep using that because it's been working really well. I'm going to talk about survey questions next. When should we use NCDP scripts versus writing our own? I wish Sarah O'Brien was here to give the definitive answer, but if you are working with the regional organizing directors, if you're doing a canvas that like Project 100 is supporting you, they're probably going to provide a script. But if you want to do some volunteer recruitment, for example, you might make your own script. Um, so I feel like that's not a very meaty answer, Bob, but let me ask Sarah. I know that and you probably have a lot of scripts in your version of Vote Builder for Dare County.
There, for what I was getting at, for a long time, we could write our own scripts. A policy came along where there was really important for us to use NCDP scripts so that NCDP got consistently formatted data. Howard Harlan may want to speak to that. That policy is basically if there's an NCDP script that you can use, then you should use that.
And so from last year, anyhow, I remember that was why we talked about bracketing like candidate name. You know, for example, this year there are 1,700 different municipal races. We don't want to have 1,700 scripts, so we would just bracket the candidate's name. But Harmon, what do you have a perspective on that?
So, Bob, really quick, what county party is this?
Dare County.
Okay. So in regards to Dare County, I don't want to step on the or just any county, to be honest, which is helpful to know. I don't want to step on the organizing department's toes on what they've told you. I will say that for data purposes, and I'm speculating here until I talk to them, that I think their desire was that they're getting this all the questions be centralized. So you put survey questions into your scripts, right? But what happens is if you make your own survey questions, we don't get any of that survey question data. And I need to talk to them, but I bet that was probably the one of the bigger concerns. And so what I would say is you should bring up this conversation with your regional organizing director. Are you familiar with them?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Bring it up with them. And you know what? CC me on that email and I'll put myself in there and maybe I can at least engage in that conversation and dialogue. I want to defer to what the field team says because it's their space to grow. But that being said, there might be some wiggle room depending on what you're willing to accommodate for us, like using our survey questions as an example.
And I
Okay,
think
thanks.
Yeah, I think this is actually a good transition to the next topic because um, if I was summarizing what Harmon said and your question, Bob, I think the answer is like scripts, I don't think we care as much about as we care about using consistent survey questions. So let me talk about survey questions a little bit because the survey questions are used to track information that can change over time. And there can be a lot of options for answers. So here's an example on the screen. Who do you plan to vote for in the next election? And how strong is your support? By using consistent survey questions throughout the state, we can compare how strong is the support for the Democratic Senate candidate in Dare County versus Stokes County. And since you're both using the same survey question, we can see data across the state, even if your script is structured differently. So I think this is going to end up being the answer here. Here are some example survey questions that if you don't have in there now, you might or you will soon. But these are what I could find that look like the most current. So, what is an issue you're considering? What's an issue you consider when voting? And that you would like to see focused on by elected officials. This is the issues question. There's a question, would you like a yard sign for our campaign? Are you planning to vote in the 2025 municipal election? And can you commit to support the candidate this year? Those would be questions you're going to see in my voters. The volunteer ask questions might be in both my voters and my campaign. So, can you volunteer this year? Can I count on you to volunteer to help elect Democrats? What areas of volunteering are you interested in helping with? So, those survey questions have already been created and probably cascaded. Those are the questions you're probably going to use a lot over the next couple of years. Um, and so when you're building your script, look for survey questions that work for your purpose. There is probably a survey question that already exists that you can use in your script. And by using those bracketed survey questions, that enables us to compare data across the state and year over year. So use the survey questions that are in there. If you come up with a scenario where you really think you need a custom survey question, that would be something to talk to Harmon about. And maybe he has one he can share with you, or you can figure out a way forward from there. Okay. Did you give me eyes, Harmon, or was that okay?
That was not me giving you sass at all. That was great.
Okay. All right, let me go into resources to share, and then I can do a screen share and take some more questions. Um, Oh, let me see what's in the chat here. My question is around minivan and connecting the script to a list and being able to upload it and da 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 da. Yes, that is covered in another session. So that is covered in the session on building a canvas in Vote Builder. Give me a minute and I can drop the link for that. It's coming up. There are 6 trainings on Vote Builder. I'm almost through with the 6 of them, and then I'm going to do another round. I will be doing that one live again on August 19th. In the meantime, there is a recording that you can watch on YouTube, so I can share those with you. Okay, the Living Library. This is a shared drive that predates me, predates Harmon. Thank you, Harmon. But it's a shared drive. That link will take you to this folder that has the training slides. It's not the videos, but it is the slides. So I think it was Bridget. You could also check that for the slides on how to build out a canvas. And there is, of course, the Vote Builder guide. This is something to like bookmark and open up and do a search for key terms or key skills when you are trying to accomplish something. This is the list of all of the Vote Builder trainings. So this week is scripts, scripts and survey questions. Next week, we'll be doing Vote Builder 201, and then the cycle will start over again August 5th with Vote Builder 101. And if I didn't see if there was anybody here who is a candidate, if you're a candidate who's running for office and you just recently got access to Vote Builder, 101, 102, 103 are probably going to be the best sessions for you. Also, Harmon is doing practice feedback and review sessions. So this is an opportunity for you to be working in Vote Builder with Harmon there to kind of provide his expertise. The next one of these, excuse me, is July 30th. And final slide, we both have office hours. I'll drop that in the chat as well. Office hours, it's not a structured session. I hang out in Zoom, pop in, ask me a question. I can connect you to resources. It's more like an open house. It's pretty casual, but we are available to help then as well. With that, I'm going to stop the recording. Whoops, I just about ended the entire meeting. Hold on.